When I turn on the television and I hear that from the river to the sea is genocidal and that intifáda is a call to kill all Jews, I feel like as though I'm a victim of a stupid joke. Especially as I'm watching my people get slaughtered in the streets, I am asked to have the patience for these kinds of debates that tell me that words are genocidal. The Israeli regime is engaging of a war of attrition against the Palestinian people, and yet we are asked to talk about chants and slogans. And in my opinion, I don't even think this is about free speech or the right to express yourself or the right to analogy or the right to say whatever you want to say. It's not even about this. This is about our moral obligation as human beings to reject genocide, the real genocide that is happening in real time. Zionism has been so successful. It has exploited the legacy and the memory of the Holocaust to serve its political gain.
To be clear, from the river to the sea, as someone who's Jewish, means to exterminate my people. Never again.
And the fear of a possible second Holocaust, which, by the way, is logistically impossible on the part of Palestinians, is given a lot more urgency than the current genocide taking place in real time. Language comparing Zionism to Nazism is more penalized, is more scrutinized than the actual military actions and governmental policies that beg for the analogy to be made. All of this is happening against the backdrop of bombs dropping on people, of white phosphorus, burning people's flesh. And we are told to talk about language. Recently in the United States, this debate about anti-Semitism has gone to the Senate. You have Jewish students who are afraid of chants being chanted on campus.
Alone! They want our people dead!
In one world, there are people digging with their bare hands in the rubble to retrieve their family members. And in another world, you have privileged students crying about their lives from the safety of their high-rise apartments. There's an ecosystem that has allowed this fear, this paranoid fear to fester, so much so it became so visceral that they think the Gestapo is going to show up in the halls of the Ivy Leagues. Meanwhile, you have the only nuclear power in the Middle East bombing the shit out of Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. And we are told that we must give equal weight to both things, if not more weight to the latter. That is absurd. And when you invite the presidents of the Ivy Leagues to testify before the Senate or before Congress, and they are asked if intifada means the genocide of the Jews.
You are president of Harvard, so I assume you're familiar with the term intifada, correct?
I've heard that term, yes.
And you understand that the use of the term intifada in the context of the Israeli-Arab conflict is indeed a call for violent armed resistance against the state of Israel, including violence against civilians and the genocide of Jews. Are you aware of that?
That type of hateful speech is personally abhorrent to me.
And they are unable to say, no, actually, if you pick up a fucking dictionary, intifada means uprising. They have brought it onto themselves that they are getting kicked out or being forced to resign. Because when you are being accused of appalling things and you refuse to call these things appalling, you have no spine. If these presidents were able to stand up straight and look that question in the eye and say, how dare you ask me such a disgusting question? Of course, intifada does not mean the genocide of the Jewish people. My students are protesting what is going on in the Gaza Strip, which is within the right of expression.
From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free is a call for Jewish slaughter. That's what it is, and it needs to be outlawed. Enough with that.
There's a lot that can be said about the river to the sea chant, right? Like I can go on a monologue about how it's a call for the liberation of Palestinians that exist across geographies, how it's a call for dignity for everyone, blah, 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 right? But that's not the point. The people asking us whether from the river to the sea is genocidal are not interested in an answer. It's such a ridiculous question. They are interested in distracting us from the focal point. The focal point being that there is an actual literal genocide being committed today in real time that is televised. And television anchors are instead asking their guests about the hidden insidiousness of that chant.
From the river to the sea, shouted by the people who are shouting it, it's really promoting genocide.
What the debate about the river to the sea also reveals is the projection of Zionism. They have to look within our intentions. They have to speculate whether we want to commit genocide Meanwhile, they are the ones who have committed genocide in 1948, who continue to commit incremental genocide and are committing a fully fledged genocide today in the Gaza Strip. It's crazy. You are being told by the people that are killing you that you want to kill them. They're killing us, and then they're pretending to mourn civilian life.
For the IDF, the death of a civilian is a tragedy.
And they're pretending they're doing so in self-defense, and they're pretending that they are the martyrs, and they are the subjects of hatred, and they are the subjects of genocide. It's absolutely mad. And if it weren't for the flagrant, insidious nature of it, it would be hilarious. But the reason why it's not funny is because there are tens of thousands of people murdered by Israeli bombs. It's not a joke. It's not a joke that an Israeli spokesperson, after being accused of genocide by South Africa, can get on a podium and accuse South Africa of aiding and abetting genocide.
South Africa has made itself criminally complicit with Hamas's campaign of genocide against our people.
It's not a joke. It's not funny. But they are doing it because they know they have the backing of the world's leaders and superpowers that are interested in maintaining a status quo of subjugation of the Palestinian, because that is what is lucrative. There's a lot being said about anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism, and I'm constantly reminded of my childhood. When I was young, my house was taken by settlers, and they happened to be Jewish. And it wasn't my fault that they were Jewish. They just happened to be Jewish. They decided to come and take our house and say our house was theirs by divine decree, because God said that the Jews owned the land. That is not my problem. That is not my fault. And I think this is a microcosm for the entirety of the settler state. This is a colonial enterprise that has decided willingly to desecrate and exploit Jewish symbols in favor of its settler project. And we are supposed to distance ourselves from that. If you are using the Star of David as a military symbol, as an icon of conquest, how is that my fault? If you are leveling neighborhoods to the grounds, then planting the Star of David in the middle of the neighborhood, if you are literally carving the Star of David in the faces of young Palestinian men, how are we supposed to distance ourselves from this conflation when this government is intentionally, explicitly, and institutionally conflating Judaism, the religion, with Zionism, a racist ideology? The burden and the responsibility of making the distinction does not fall on the oppressed. It does not fall on the colonized. When they are exploiting that conflation in their favor, this falls on them. Frankly, I am tired of watching bombs drop on people, watching people draw their last breaths, and having these images and scenery disrupted by requests that I condemn this, and I denounce that, and I rebuke this, and I rebuke that. It's absolutely incredible. It's crazy. But this is so revealing about the West. It's revealing about the kind of psyche that holds so many people hostage. We are willing to look evil in the eye. We are willing to look violence in the eye and treat it as an everyday banality, right? Palestinians are robbed of their rights. Our homes are demolished. We do not have the freedom of movement to move from city to city. We are bombed into oblivion. All of that is tolerated, even celebrated, certainly financed by the world's superpowers, by the United States, by Britain. What does that say to us? I talk to a lot of people who tell me that they're afraid to speak out, lots of liberals who tell me they're afraid to speak out against the genocide of the Palestinian people. And frankly, that fear is hard to swallow because it will never compare to the fear of having your house bombed, of not knowing whether your mother is alive or dead, of being shot by a sniper in the middle of a crowded street. We are at a moment for transformation. I believe the world has changed forever since October 7th. I am sorry about your job. I am sorry about you souring the mood of your boss or having an unpleasant dinner with your family should you speak up about Palestine. But compare that to the anguish of being in the Gaza Strip right now. It does not compare. If you think your silence is going to protect you from being fired, if you think you staying quiet about the subjugation of a faraway people is going to keep you safe, you are dead wrong. The more you ignore this censorship of Palestinians, the more you ignore this repression and crackdown on speech, on Palestinian rights, on saying no to the empire, the more the empire is going to grow, the more powerful it becomes, and you are going to be its next victim. I am sure of that. In an ecosystem of journalism that obfuscates facts, that rewrites history, that victim blames, that writes in passive voice, It is imperative that we support progressive, independent journalism. So if you can, join the future of journalism, join Double Down News on Patreon.